This is the testament of life for James Jihyuh Ahlu Chao. His funeral was on June 20th, 2026, and I'll be reading the testament of life that I wrote and gave in order to eulogize him on that day. He was born on September 24th, 1954, and he died on May 27th, 2026. This video is for primarily friends and family that were unable to attend the funeral, but it is open to the public to be shared for any of you who want to know the story of my father and his incredible life. These are some of the stuffed animals and action figures that have been meaningful to me and my family over the years, and so they are in attendance, and I welcome you into attendance as well. All right, this is the testament of life that I gave for my father. On the last day of his life, my father and I went hiking, and we played tennis, and we went to Disneyland. Granted, this was all in his mind. I moved his legs for him, imagining the mountains that we've climbed and the ones that he dreamed of climbing. I held his hand and I made tennis sounds as I swung it. Fuck, 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 fuck. I sat with him and sang "It's a Small World After All," which reminded him of being a dad and a granddad and riding the ride. My father smiled. He was a man who enjoyed being in motion. Like when he taught me how to play tennis, he said, "Just hit the ball and keep moving." He was born in 1954 in Taiwan. For those of you who don't know, that was a very, very different world. His parents grew up under Japanese colonization, but my father grew up under Chiang Kai-shek's martial law. It was a very, very rigid system. And honestly, I think that the military school system suited my father. My father was smart, although I found out later that his grades didn't always reflect that. And he liked things structured and simple. He was an eldest son to an eldest son. Actually, I found out to an eldest son, whose mom was a teacher. He told me in school he often did whatever they told him to do. I just did whatever they told me to do, and it worked out. As a kid, he would play at Longshan Temple with his grandmother, who volunteered there. I've been told many times that he would often be out on the street playing with cousins or neighbors. His mother was a school teacher. His father was a civil engineer. Both of them were trying to help their kids navigate a new world with a new language, and that wasn't always easy. My father lived through rapid industrialization, learning Mandarin Chinese. Though he doesn't remember it, I found evidence that he was in a choir and a ski club, and actually early on in his life, a very good drawer. His best memories were of swimming. His parents would take him and his siblings swimming, despite the fact that his father had a terrible fear of drowning. My dad told me that he loved swimming with his siblings. But my father was an eldest son of an eldest son of an eldest son. He had responsibilities and expectations placed on him which he did not understand, but he did his best to fulfill and to be a good example. He went to the schools his mother told him to, and he even majored in geology because his grandmother thought that it was geomancy and that he would be learning feng shui. But he was also a boy, and he wanted to play. He played mahjong. I've been told that he was quite a hustler, but his favorite game of all time was tennis. He loved tennis. He told me that he loved the geology building at Taipei because it was close to the tennis courts, so he'd play all day, and then at night he could go upstairs and play mahjong in the upper floors of his department. His parents did not like that. They fought a lot. But he was a boy. He wanted to adventure. He was in a rush to move. One of the first big turns in his life was right before he was to be conscripted for mandatory military service at the end of his undergraduate, what we would call undergraduate. He had such bad stomach ulcers that he had to have 2/3 of his stomach removed. Today, we would probably just give him Prevacid. But that surgery did two things. First, it got him out of military service. And second, it meant that he missed the fall application window for graduate schools. He couldn't apply for the fall semesters or quarters. And so he applied to and took the one geology graduate program in the entire United States of America that he could find that took spring admits, the University of Iowa. My father, just entering his 20s, boarded a plane, his first plane ride ever, with two children who are little, his cousins, he was accompanying, and flew to meet his older sister in Chicago, and then eventually made his way to Iowa in the winter. My father told me about the first time he saw snow, and he was like, I made a big mistake. How much snow there was. And he was very lonely then. He told me a story about how he cried into his rice cooker in his dorm room because he was just so far away from home. His first year at Iowa, he had one friend, only one friend, and it was a Korean kid who also didn't speak English, and that's what they had in common. He told me a story about how he and his Korean friend tried to go camping, but they didn't understand American land ownership, and so they ended up getting chased by a farmer with a shotgun. There are two things that saved my father in graduate school. The first is that he started working at a Chinese restaurant. This helped him to improve his English, gave him a little bit of community, and also gave him his lifelong love of small talk with strangers. If you've ever met my father, you know that he loved small talking with strangers. Secondly, the thing that saved him was he got really good at this technical skill that a lot of people needed, but very few people had. He would call it, he was just good at reading rocks. He told me about how his teachers and his TAs would help him to write the essays. He didn't need any help with math, though. As he would tell me many, many times, math was the language that everyone spoke the same. My dad survived in America. He thrived in America. But he missed a lot. He missed his grandmother's passing. He missed playing with his cousins and seeing his siblings grow up. He missed Taiwan's battles for democracy. But he was good at grad school. So good that when he graduated, one of his professors tapped him to work at a startup that had this great idea of using these new things, these newfangled devices called computers, to help find oil. And so my dad got good at using computers. So good that when the company needed to pitch their technology to new clients, they would partner him with a beautiful saleswoman and send them out together. She would charm all the executives, and he would answer all the technical questions. He got to travel. He got to move. He moved to a different company that sent him to Singapore. And when his work took him back to Asia, working in Singapore, he still wanted to be a good son. So he let his parents marry him to a Taiwanese woman of their choosing. But my dad did not love her. From what I gather, he did not even tolerate her. He could not even tolerate her. Instead, he fell in love with a poor woman in Singapore who liked to play tennis with him. And so he begged his parents to let him divorce his first wife. He begged on the floor while they screamed at him and they beat him. They did not agree. But he did it anyways. He moved back to Texas with his new wife. Soon she got pregnant. Within 2 years, he had 2 sons. But something else unexpected happened. In the process of childbirth, his wife went fully deaf. My father did not understand my mother. My father did not understand women, to be honest. To the day he died, he did not really understand women all that much. And a deaf woman, for sure, he didn't understand. But he understood math, he understood computers, and he knew how to read rocks. So he worked hard, and his work took him all over the world, to different companies. He went to Eastern Russia, actually, to like Siberia, within a decade of the Berlin Wall falling. It's a great story that I don't have time for right now, but my father would tell me, all around the world, people speak math the same. My father loved seeing the corners of the world, and especially eating their food. And my father also found purpose. After engaging in democratic protests, my father became aware of Taiwanese independence and democracy, and he became involved in the pursuit of Taiwanese independence and democracy. He reconnected with his Taiwanese name, Ahlu. With the help of my mom, he helped organize protests and volunteered at our Taiwanese community center. But at home, he was lonely and he was tired, and increasingly finding himself in a world he didn't understand. He didn't know how to communicate with his wife. His sons began to grow up and he didn't really know how to talk to them. He and I fought a lot, actually. I had a world of feelings that he had been taught to ignore. But he liked to play baseball and to watch Jeff play baseball, and he tried to teach us tennis. He won back the respect and the approval of his parents. He cared for his niece like she was his own daughter. He welcomed his brother to the United States and tried to go on as many trips with him as he could. And he took his family, me and my brother, back to Taiwan and Singapore as often as he could. But those places were also increasingly changing. He had grown up with buses, and now there were trains. Life keeps moving. And two things hit my dad hard at the same time. His mentor in the Taiwanese community died suddenly of a heart attack. And my father was thrust into the spotlight of being the new leader. He was even the principal of our Taiwanese school for 4 years. It was something that he had been trained for his whole life. But I think in many ways he never wanted and wasn't really ready for. But he did his very best. I remember having to go with my dad to the Taiwanese school, and we would be the first ones there to set up all the chairs, and we would be the last ones to leave to clean out all the trash. And my father taught me that being a leader meant being the first one to set up chairs and the last one to leave because you're cleaning up all the trash. The second thing that hit my father was that his father, my grandfather, had a stroke, and then in the recovery of that stroke revealed that he had cancer. For a year, my dad struggled as his father withered away. But back then it was the time of phone cards, and I remember my father desperately on the phone, trying his best to help, but not being able to do very much. In 1997, his father died, and a heavy weight fell on my dad that I now understand what it feels like. He threw himself into work. He was good at computers, he was good at math, and he could read rocks. So he traveled a lot. New Orleans during the week, trips to offshore oil rigs, conferences around the world, and he had a great career. His bosses loved him, I've talked to them. His coworkers loved him, I've talked to them. And he was a great mentor. He actually was, he would go out of his way to make sure that talented people, especially if they were of minority statuses, he would educate them and help them to move up. My father was very proud of the fact that in his entire career, he had never had to apply for a job because basically word got around the oil industry that if you needed somebody to understand the geophysics data of offshore oil drilling, that you should call James. He was good at what he did, and he did what he was good at, and he kept moving. but he also missed a lot in those years. In 2003, his wife divorced him. In hindsight now, I truly believe he didn't see it coming despite all the warnings. And he broke then. He wouldn't admit it at the time. He didn't even recognize it till years later. But he broke down and had to start over. But he kept moving. He kept working. He still played tennis with his friends from the Taiwanese school. He drove to Austin every week to have dinner with my brother Jeffrey. He learned Zen meditation. He even started reading. He was a huge fan of Texas Monthly and oddly Cosmopolitan. He said he read it for the food reviews, but I like to think he was also trying to learn about women. And he reconnected with me. He took me to London and Norway and Amsterdam and Paris. He showed me how he explored the world, which was one weird dish at a time. He taught me that whatever item on the menu you don't know, like whatever is the food that they eat here that you don't know, that is the one you should order. He would love to small talk taxi drivers and ask for the local traditional recommendations. And then when his sons got married, he was hopeful, but he was worried. He wanted them to be happy in a way that I don't think he himself knew how to be. He didn't understand women, but he hoped his sons would. And he enjoyed being part of those weddings. He enjoyed as life kept moving. But then happiness and sadness struck at the same time. In 2013, he had his first grandchild, my first child, and he was filled with happiness. He loved kids. He loved babies. He loved being a grandfather. But that same year, his brother got diagnosed with cancer and died very quickly, his younger brother. He talks about how those plane rides were so full of emotions, how losing his brother was like losing the fun in his life. But he was glad for it, in a way. It reminded him that he now had grandkids, and he wanted to be there for them. And life kept moving. In 2015, he got laid off. Turns out there was a new technology called fracking that was all the rage, and offshore oil computer data was old tech now. But instead of trying to find another job, he made the decision to retire and to spend time with his growing number of grandchildren. He went to Chicago to help care for my brother's first child, while my brother finished grad school, while my sister-in-law was working, and while they were having their second child. He even helped them move to Santa Clara in California. He came to LA to see my kids' performances. What he had missed for us, he was not going to miss again. He took Eva to Disneyland by himself, a memory he says he would never forget. He taught Emma Chinese. He saw Abby sing and dance. He cuddled with Lila. He played baseball with Austin. He helped me to build a house in Tijuana. He traveled back to Taiwan as frequently as he could to spend time with his aging mother and to vote in all the elections. If you know, he would travel back to Taiwan to vote in every election and to hike, a lot of hiking. He loved moving. He volunteered at the Houston Museum of Natural Science. He loved to teach little kids about dinosaurs, and he loved to share what it was like to read rocks. He played tennis with his friends. He learned to love again. He kept moving. He helped my kids do homework during the pandemic. And then In 2021, his mother died. He had to quarantine in a hotel, but he was there. My father didn't understand women, but he needed them in his life. And when his mom died, he was adrift. But then, he was there when I needed him. In 2023, when I was going through one of the toughest periods of my life, he was there to help pick me back up, to show me again how strong I could be, and to believe in me, and to love me. But then at the end of 2023, he started feeling a pain in his abdomen. He was scared. He didn't want to know. He tried to keep moving and avoid the doctor. So in the spring of 2024, my wonderful sister-in-law had me and my brother call him and talk to him. He told us not to worry. He'd be fine. He was going to go soon. I asked him if he understood that me and my brother loved him. And he said yes, he did understand that. And so I told him, Dad, in our love for you, Jeffrey might disobey you. And Jeffrey did. Jeffrey disobeyed him and flew to Houston and took him to the hospital, where we found out that he had stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And then I took him to MD Anderson, where, with the help of his dearest friend Alice, we gave him no choice but to start chemotherapy. The last 2 years have been a roller coaster with my father. 22 total chemos. I was with him for 16 of those. I saw my father die and come back to life 16 times. And each time was a struggle. But he would lie on the couch. He would look up at the pictures of his grandkids, of his sons. And we would say, just hold on for one more performance, one more Thanksgiving, one more Christmas, one more trip, one more walk, one more meal, one more song, one more game of tennis. Maybe, just maybe, he could go to Disneyland again. And what a glorious time we had. So much happiness. Despite all the pain, despite the suffering, he worked really hard. He fought really hard to have good relationships with everybody on the way out. I like to think I even taught him a little bit about women. And a clinical trial drug. Thankfully, a clinical trial drug gave him even an extra 9 months of really good life. He got to go back to Taiwan. He was strong enough to still beat me in pickleball and me and my brother in pickleball, even though he was playing left-handed. He got to play one last game of tennis, real tennis, with me. He got to go to Disneyland one last time. There was this fireworks show that for 2 years I played him the soundtrack for. He knew the whole soundtrack, and he was like, I wonder if I'll actually get to see it with my grandkids. And he did. And he gave it the greatest compliment you could get from my father, which was, it was so expensive. But it was worth it. It was worth it. And then his stent failed. The clinical trial couldn't take him back. And he had no strength left for more chemo. In the end, I watched his body wither. The ashes and this pineapple are the representation of it. It's a pineapple. It's a pineapple cat? Frog. It's a pineapple frog that my child bought for him when he started chemo and that he held with him when he did chemo. But I saw my father with the last ounces, the last breath, as he withered, as he used every last shred of energy in his body to live. I heard him give blessings to his family, to laugh with the last breaths of his body. I heard him laugh with the last breaths of his body. No bitterness, no resentment. And even with one of those last breaths to tell us something very important. Don't buy watermelon at night. Go in the morning to buy fresh watermelon. The last thing my father ate was fresh watermelon. The last thing my father said to me was, it's not just the quantity of time, but the quality. So be happy. On his last day, when I saw him, I told him what had become a mantra for us. I would look at him, I'd go, "You still alive?" And his eyes would flicker, and I knew he was still alive. And I'd say what I'd said for 2 years. Well, if you're going to be alive, we might as well have some fun. And we did, to the very end. May 27th, 2026, I went on a hike with my dad. I played tennis with him. We wrote "It's a Small World After All" in our minds. And then he was tired. He was tired. So tired. And I told him that if he woke up again, that we'd play again. But that if he had to go, that he could go and play with his brother and his parents, and I would see him again one day. My dad showed me that life is for living. Might as well live. That we keep moving. That we enjoy the moments we have, we cherish them, and we try to have one more. And so my father went to sleep with my brother at his side, the eldest son of an eldest son of an eldest son of an eldest son. And one day, I will play with him again. And until then, just keep living. Thank you.